it's really. What's going on, everyone?
Oh,
This is
man.
Uche and Njoku, Sneaker Principal, and I'm here with my brother. Introduce yourself.
Hey, Archie T, back in the house again for this episode of Ivy League Hoodrats. Good to be with y'all this evening.
Ivy
All
League
right, let's
Hood
get it in,
Rats.
man. Yes, sir.
So first of all, I gotta tell y'all something before we even start. I might be a little loopy right now because I'm in Denver and didn't nobody tell me about this oxygen elevation nonsense. I'm walking around here acting like feeling like I got asthma. I'm like, what's wrong with me? I don't have asthma. This elevation is crazy. As a matter of fact, how come the Denver Broncos don't got like 10 Super Bowl rings? Like, how do you compete in this? Archie, you play ball like I
Oxygen.
did. You play on a high level. Why?
Oxygen.
Oxygen, okay. But right now I'm
They
feeling
come.
like,
They give them oxygen masks on the sidelines. Yeah,
okay,
yeah. Give them oxygen mask. But you're on a high floor. Like I'm up high here to tell the floor, depending on what floor. But yeah, they give them oxygen on the sidelines.
man, this is
But I never
tough.
played football in Denver.
Yeah, that's tough. But ladies and gentlemen, those of you watching right now, the quality might not be as clear as usual. Right now, I am in Denver. I'm on a business trip, and I told myself, like, you know what, though, I still gotta do this, you know. But then what's interesting is my brother right here is doing what right now as well?
I'm on the move. I'm on a business trip. I'm in Hoboken, New Jersey on a business trip. You know, I'm always on the move. I think they caught me last time in Memphis, and now I think next week I might be broadcasting again from my office before I head to Houston, H-Town. Shout out there. Well, I don't know, y'all. I've been kind of violent this week, man. Uh,
Well,
but still, shout out to H-Town, man.
yeah. R.I.P. to my brother from Amigos. That was crazy. But I might
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
but I might be in neck of the woods real soon. We have something boiling up for Maryland, for Baltimore. So but I'll definitely let you know.
You know
So
what?
we might end up doing an
Oh,
episode together in the same space.
in the same space. We're gonna have
Yeah,
to do that anyway, because you know
yeah,
I'm back and forth to New York. But
yeah, for
hey,
sure, for
let's
sure,
do
for
it.
sure, for sure, for sure. So we're gonna get into this episode. If you're here with us, first of all, apologies for that we're starting late. Technology in the hotel, trying to get the Wi-Fi connected and all these different things. And if you even knew how much equipment I had to travel with just to make sure that this happened. But again, thank you for your patience. And we're here this evening, Ivy League Hood Rats, talking about whatever comes to mind, especially whatever is happening in media and whatever, comes to spirit. One thing I want to say is this. Right now, as you can tell, I don't have the scroll showing under the screen because I'm literally not in my regular studio setup. But however, if you ever at any point want to joining on a call with us, all you gotta do is type into your Google or whatever search platform you use, tinyurl.com/call TSP. Again, tinyurl.com/call CALL TSP, the Sneaker Principal TSP. You call that, and you're going to be literally pulled into this conversation. You will be on video, so you can keep your camera off if you want to be anonymous. And the other thing too, don't listen. If you're trying to be anonymous, did I say unanimous? I meant anonymous. If you want to be anonymous, the one thing, please do
I
not put your
lost
real name
sound.
in there. Can you hear me?
I lost sound.
Oh snap! Testing. Hold up. All right, if you're still here, again, listen, Cody, technical difficulties. I'm hoping that I can get my brother Archie back on again. He's jumping back on, and hopefully he's on. No, he's still not on, so he's gonna call back again. So again, you can call in. Momentarily, this episode is gonna be a little crazy. I'm still on. I can tell. I'm still streaming, but he's having difficulties being on here. But as soon as he calls back in, we're gonna jump on it. Okay, here he goes. I think he's calling right now, and let me put him back in. You there?
I'm back.
All right. So you
I'm
can hear me
back.
though. Okay. So it was you then.
I got kicked
So,
out.
but yeah, and the bandwidth probably kicked you out on my end. So this might happen a couple of times. But ladies and gentlemen, You gotta accept it. This is what we're doing when we're on the road. But let's just get to the meat of it. So Archie, I got something for
Let's
you.
get to it.
I got something for you. Okay. So my sister hit me up with a with a video clip from, maybe it might have been YouTube or TikTok. So check this out. In the state of Washington, as soon as your child is 13 years old, they can be medicated by a, let's say, for depression, for or they can be medicated to aid in gender identification, or whatever that process is, without your permission and without your knowledge. So the guy in the video was complaining that he said what had happened was the school had called him saying during the break, they had a break, it might have been over the summer, called him and saying, your son did not pick up his depression medication, he needs to pick it up, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, he's on depressive meds, given by the school. And he's like, how come I didn't know this? But in the state of Washington, it is actually law. At 13, they don't have to tell you nothing about, what's happening with your child in school, especially when they're being medicated. And I was dumbfounded, but I'm thinking to myself, as a parent, it's a very little you have control over. But one thing you have control over is what happens to your child in that space. Maybe I'm tripping. And I was like, this is a good way to segue into our conversation tonight. As a parent, what do you think about this, Mr. Tyson?
You're not tripping at all. It's I think it's again, I think I said it the other week, it is liberalism gone mad, right? This is how you end up with the rise of the far radical right, is because and I'm to be clear, like, yeah, I swing more on the liberal side of anything, but like not on the crazy super liberal left side. But when you enact laws that allow my child to receive all types of medical care, right? My child, right? Not my adult, not my young adult, my child to receive all types of medical care. And I'm unaware, like, just as a parent, as a father, I don't even have another responsibility in the universe other than to protect my children at all costs. That's my primary function, is to protect my family, my wife, and children. That's what I signed up for when I got married. That's what I signed up for once you have a child. I don't even know what's wrong with all these dudes, ladies, or whoever else that they don't see that as their primary function when you have children. I want to make sure that they are okay and well. And how can I do that when you're allowing them to take drugs or whatever that could have whatever type of side effects? And I'm unaware. Not saying that some kids might not necessarily need that. And that doesn't take away from a kid's ability to think and be a person, but you're a person also living off of my dime,
Yeah.
enjoying my lights, enjoying my food, enjoying my clothing, my gas, my transmission fluid, my tires, and all this stuff. And like, you're telling me that, like, I don't need to be in the know, because if something goes wrong with any of that, you know, you've essentially cut me out of the process of making decisions that are best for my children. And I know in the spirit of that is that, you do have some people that are unfit for parenthood based off of their actions and their abusive actions towards children. And 13-year-olds shouldn't be making those type of decisions independently. Their brains aren't even finished fully developing yet. I don't want to get into psychology and the biology of it, but their brains aren't even fully developed yet, right? So, I think that, again, when I say sometimes that folks on the left take it too far, that's an example of, it's one thing if we're talking about a 16-year-old, because I think in those 3 or 4 years, there's
There's a
a
lot.
level of maturity
Yeah,
that
there's a lot of
happens.
maturity. Yeah.
And some people will probably debate that, but that's one thing, right? I still would be upset as a parent because I want to know what my child is doing. But but we're talking about 13. Come on, now. It's 13. Like you can't really get a job outside of working at a farm or lying on the application when you're 13. So people can work on farms super early and all that stuff, which is still crazy based off of our agrarian culture that we've had for a long time. But yeah, I just can't subscribe to that. I think it's again liberalism that's went out of control, and we just need to stop it. Like folks that are on the left need to tell other folks on the left, please stop. Like stop enacting laws that are utter nonsense. Because you not only isolate people that are with you from a policy perspective, but you also drum up the crazies and you create you. I said it to somebody earlier this week, and we can kind of get into this, but I in some ways think that the extreme left provoked the crazies of the extreme right to come on out
Yeah.
because you push people too far. You've won, right? You have abortion laws, you have stuff in place, you have things that were going your way. You've won in many ways, but you couldn't just take your victory lap and be happy with it. You had to gloat, you had to rub salt in wounds, and you had to push people too far, right? And I always say, you know, it's kind of the case of you if you push people that far to the point where they don't care, they're going to respond in very deplorable ways when they don't care. So I'm like, don't push people so far. Yeah, enact laws that are going to protect kids. Yeah, absolutely. Kids should be continuing to grow and develop themselves intellectually as independently thinking people, but you're not a full independent citizen capable of carrying out all civic duties at 13. So why in the world are you able to take narcotics and other drugs that can be pumped into you? And quite frankly, I'm gonna get in trouble for this. The American Medical Association is like the last and final mob, and quite frankly, pharmaceutical companies, kids are their last guinea pigs. How has everybody all of a sudden ADHD since 1991
But which
or
kids though?
1990? Everybody
But
ADHD.
but Archie, which kids though? I mean, I know there's practices that are
Oh,
just crazy with kids in general, but I feel like this is a targeted group. I feel it's a targeted group because again, like I haven't seen like my career is. Guys, don't forget, I was a special education teacher. So, as a special education teacher, the vast majority of our kids who were in special ed were black boys, black black and brown boys. And now I started to creep up with the girls as well. And so I asked myself, how is it possible all these kids that I'm teaching, I'm spending time with them, I'm realizing, no, this kid is smart as all can be, but they not have this IEP, this document that we got to fight to get them out of that says that they're not capable and they need all these accommodations. But I'm sitting there as their teacher, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with this kid. And the kid is looking at me saying, I told
yeah,
you.
yeah. I mean, again, we know that 70% of teachers are white and female, right? And we don't have to go through all of the research here in regards to cultural relevant teaching and all of that. But you know, there's something to misdiagnosing or even not perceiving certain behaviors um, that black boys engage in or just how they are. Um, it's something to not perceiving it correctly and, oh, this kid needs an IEP or additional accommodations. No, you need accommodations because you're not adapting to understand who black and brown boys are, how they learn best, how they move best. You're trying to apply what you've always done or what you think is best instead of what actual research says, or instead of immersing yourself in their culture and getting closer to them so that certain behaviors don't make sense. It gets back to the whole what I said, and I don't know, did I say it on this podcast? What was it? The nurse in it was a neonatal nurse that was about to send this black mother to the psych ward because she was doing this. She was
Yeah, yeah.
constantly tapping on her head.
That was last week.
Yeah,
That was last
she,
week.
yeah. Black nurse is like, oh, that's how we scratch our head this way, right? So you're seeing something that's relatively normal in my community, but you're thinking like this is crazy, and this kid needs. No, that kid don't need any additional academic services. And I do want to be clear that our kids that need the absolute help, but disproportionality is just out of control, and folks have to want to do better by our children, and that begs an interesting question. Like, do folks actually really want to do better by our children? And why is the achievement gap and every other gap still persisting through every iteration of no child left behind, race to the top, and and it's an interesting question. It's like, do we really want to see kids do better? It's interesting.
Hmm.
Just my minute take and shake on it.
If you have any thoughts about this and you're listening on right here, please feel free to call in at tinyurl.com/calltsp. Um, all right, so let's move forward. Is there anything that's on your mind you want to talk about? That's not something else, but if there's anything in particular,
No. Let's go for it, brother. What's on your mind tonight, man?
all right. November 1st. No, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm sorry. No, it was November 1st. It was October 31st. Supreme Court, affirmative action. They didn't call it affirmative
All right,
action, but that's what they were going after. The
all right.
Association of Students Against Unfair Admission Practices, whatever they want to call themselves. And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting because I know for a fact, without a doubt in my mind, that my attendance of the University of Rochester had a lot to do with the laws that were in place that gave me access or um, gave them the opportunity to admit me on a no fault type situation because they're like, hey, we have to take him because of this policy. That's how I saw it. And of course, I went there and I proved them wrong, on many levels. But the fact that the law was important to begin with is the fact that somebody like myself or yourself or a lot of the brothers and sisters out there who might have the tools and the ability but didn't have the appropriate resources that might have needed a little bit more time to be able to be successful in colleges and universities across the country, now they're talking about taking it away completely. Like that's non-existent. And I don't know how I feel about that because I feel like nothing has changed since when I was in high school to my last year as a principal of a high school. Like we still got to fight for every inch and for every bit of access in a system that's not fair, and it's not meant to give access to people that look like me and you. So I don't know if you thought about this. I've spent some time in my in
Why
my
you
feelings
want
about it. What do I want
why
your
you want to
opinion?
trigger me this evening? Why you want to trigger me this evening? I don't know why. So let's start
because
with
because you're a
one.
hood rat. Because you're a hood rat. That's
Take
why.
take your black ass to Morehouse, Spelman, Morgan State, Tougaloo, Philander Smith, Lincoln, Florida A&M, Jackson
Fisk,
State, Tennessee State. Take your ass to fit. Take your ass to HBCU with your brilliant, pretty black and brown asses, where you're gonna be appreciated, loved, and all that. Once upon a time, we didn't really have that much of a choice, and it was brilliance that just was there. Now, affirmative action. You're absolutely correct. I'm 100% with you. It has nothing to do with merit and how intelligent and how smart I am and how prepared I am. It's purely about an opportunity to be able to invade spaces, and I do say invade because it does feel like you're definitely foreign there, right? Yeah. Right. You're definitely
Don't
foreign,
belong. You don't
but to
belong.
invade. Right. And some folks will casually let you know. Some folks will overtly let you know that you don't belong. And, I always tell folks have thick skin now because if you get to PWI, you get to upper tier institutions supposedly, and if you don't have thick skin, and first time somebody tell you don't belong and you cry and break down and I have to go home, okay, so that you just didn't have tough skin. Right. And we talked about that before. But um, it just gave me an opportunity to be there. I probably wouldn't have been at Grenada or Columbia, any other places. I want to rare people. I went to Morris Brown, then Grenada. So I went to HBCU and a PWI, then went the whole Ivy League route. So I, I think it created an opportunity, but it has nothing to do with whether I, from a merit standpoint, I should belong there from the merits of my academics. What we do know is for states, Michigan, California, and other places that have rid themselves of affirmative action, there has been a prompt drop in black and brown students, and black students in particular at upper tier public and private institutions that has not recovered at all. There are a few states, maybe down south, that killed affirmative action a while ago, and some of them have been able to recover. They saw initial dips, but they've been able to recover in terms of getting their black student or brown student population back up to somewhere before affirmative action. But you look in places like Berkeley and other places, University of Michigan,
Yeah.
those the recovery has not happened. So that case at Harvard specifically is dealing with Asian and Asian American students that didn't necessarily get their fair take and shake. And I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of oppression Olympics and you killing opportunities for black folks in the midst of anti-Asian hate crimes and attacks, despicable attacks that have occurred on Asian folks, for which there have been calls to ally yourself with the black community to, as a partnership to speak out against hate. And on the other hand, you know, there's a blatant, an overt concerted effort to make sure that opportunities are cut short in the black community. And again, I don't like getting to the oppression Olympics, but again, history will fully explain to you why opportunities have been shorter for black folks in this country than any other group, right? So it's sad what's occurring, but for all my people to watch The Handmaid's Tale, I always tell people, hey, pack your bags, have your go bag. As my Jewish brothers and sisters in some cases have a go bag because they've been put out of countries, run out of countries, or run out of Iran and other places. They had a go bag, but the black people have you a go bag because this handmaid tale shit, Gilead, it might not be that far off if you look at what the Supreme Court is doing, right?
Yeah.
So Roe v. Wade was really a distraction to me. It riled up all the ladies, it riled up the liberals real good, but in the midst of Roe v. Wade, what happened in the background was Miranda rights got dropped, right? The New York's gun laws got taken down, which means Maryland's ones got taken down, and other states domino because they patterned those laws to New York. So now we got the Wild Wild West everywhere, as well as the Supreme Court in that case. Where was it? Maine, where essentially the line between church and state is blurred. So those are three huge cases that got overshadowed while everyone's anger of Roe v. Wade. The police don't even have to Mirandize your black ass no more. And you hollering out worrying about you got folks marching the street about what like literally you don't have to be Mirandized, right? And now we see this Supreme Court going after affirmative action led by essentially Clarence Thomas. And I think Steve Harvey says, and I'm not too keen on quoting Steve Harvey often like that, because I love Uncle Steve, ain't exactly a public intellectual. He never tries to be either. But, he said something very profound. There's nothing more valuable than when the extreme right gets a hold of a black man or a black woman that they can, pull a string and you're gonna fiddle completely to their string. Herschel Walker, Clarence Thomas, like it's nothing more valuable to them than that, right? So this Supreme Court, they are going down a path that's rather scary, not just for liberals, but black people need to be very, very, very weary and leery of what's happening, because again, liberals have shown you that it's all good until you move next door. It's all good. Oh, it's good letting a few black people into the schools in Howard County, Maryland, but you're talking about increasing the number of black people to 25, 35, 40%. Wait a minute, that's going to bring my property value down. That will fundamentally alter my schools. So liberals are all good until that whiteness is kind of attacked, or that whiteness is threatened by blackness. And even if it's black excellence, when it's threatened, strange things can occur. So, I always tell my brothers and sisters, you might want to, learn from our Jewish brothers and sisters, and get you a go bag and think about some different locations just in case. Because again, when I said the other week, toxic polarization, if you look at all the stats, right before the Civil War, we're there. And look at what the Supreme Court's doing. It's not making it, you bring down it's not making it any better. So, but I just think it ultimately will hinder opportunities for black and brown students in particular to be able to have access. Those that are worthy and can keep up academically, to have access to some of those institutions. And, again, take your black ass to Morgan State where they have increasing enrollment. Take your black ass down to Jackson State and learn your differential equations and all that as well, honestly speaking. And then take your ass to Yale for graduate school if you need to, if they don't have a program at Jackson State for you. But go where you love. Stop spending your money at the Gucci store. If they don't like, I almost said, went off the deep end right there.
Listen.
I'm not buying Tom Ford glasses no more because it's a black female owned brand that I can rock and I'm good with it. Put your money where spend where you go, where you feel comfortable and where you want to be. But again, I'm not a fan of removing opportunities from black and brown kids or black and brown folks in general.
So I just posted in the comments what the Miranda rights thing is a big one. So this was I posted an article from CNN. It says Supreme Court limits ability to enforce Miranda rights, and this is as of Thursday, June 23rd, 2022. And I guarantee you a lot of people don't even know about this. We're talking about literally last June. It's been months since that. So I'm going to read the first paragraph to you so you understand what it says. It says the Supreme Court limited the ability to enforce Miranda rights in a ruling Thursday that said that suspects who are not warned about their rights to remain silent cannot sue police officer or for damages under federal civil rights law, even if the evidence was utterly used against them in their criminal trial. So guess what? What Archie said right now is facts. And I guarantee you a lot of you don't know that. You're still watching Law and Order and watching TV shows and watching them say you have the right to remain silent, and you're thinking that is law. No, that is now theater. It's now theater.
Yeah, it's good theater.
It's good theater.
Well, now, when people say rights, let me clarify this. All right, here we go. Tyson's
You,
going off the
you
deep
got
end,
you got the
right?
rights to
But people
not
didn't
have
hear this.
rights.
You don't have rights. What rights? American citizens don't have rights. I don't care if you white, black, or whatever, right? First of all, it's a Bill of Rights. It's a Constitution. Get out of here. That Constitution was written. Bill of Rights is written by old, privileged, white,
But you know what though?
slave owning
But my
men.
brother. But I'll even say this because people don't understand when they hear that. I feel like they still get stuck into the rhetoric of, you know, 1700s. It was written
I'm
for
gonna I'm,
them. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. My bad. My bad.
I'm gonna tell you, it was written for them exclusively, right? It wasn't written for you, right? But beyond that, right, I can prove you don't have rights as an American citizen. What you have are privileges.
How did you know? I'm about to say the
Now you
same thing.
got
It's
privileges.
privileges.
Yes, because if you don't believe me, ask our Japanese brothers and sisters during World War II who were American citizens who overnight literally had their rights, supposed rights, stripped from them as if they weren't there and thrown in internment camps. What rights do you have if someone can take it away from you so readily overnight and do whatever? You have privileges. Privileges can be removed. That's like no, my kids have a ton of privileges, but y'all don't have a right to speak in my house. It's my house, right? It's my house. You have it's a privilege. And you know, if you had a grandma like I had a grandma, again, I said my grandma's chopped cotton right down in Mississippi, right? They was sharecroppers, so their forearms was hardened. So if I spoke out of turn, getting backhand by a lady that chopped cotton for decades, I'm finna tell you, it changes your understanding of your right to speak. But you don't have rights. You
Yeah.
literally have privileges. You have rights that are written down on a piece of paper that weren't for you, and you think that you're overtly protected. Well, what was George Floyd's rights? People's rights get violated and taken away every single day. We watch it, and yet we still truly have brainwashed ourselves into believing that we have rights. We brainwashed ourselves into believing that, you know, we don't have our like that that privileges are our rights. No, you got privileges
Yeah.
because again, should things go sideways, just as what happened to the Japanese Americans during World War II, they were American citizens that literally got put in internment camps overnight. So what are we talking about? Rights? What? what are we talking about? Like somebody can get over here and debate me. They can go through it. We can play history. We can go through history. But I'm just saying, like, I'm just talking off the cuff here. But like, no such thing as rights, right? I understand what you're saying, and I've read the Bill of Rights, the documents, and all this stuff. All men are created equal, and all this and carrying on. I mean, have you really read Thomas Jefferson's notes on the state of Virginia? Have you read what he really thought about black people? Have you Do you understand the whole notion that he really kicked off the scientific movement to prove black inferiority? Like all of that dominoes from read notes on the state of Virginia, then people can come back and talk to me about rights and what founding fathers actually truly thought. And that doesn't mean that in some capacity they weren't great. Hell, we talked about it last week. Kanye was great in some capacity, and there's some shit that he wasn't so great at. Right? Same thing applies to them. They were human. They were men. Right? Looking out for their families and their self interest, and yeah, okay, we'll put this right thing down just as long as it works for us.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
So if you're listening right now, do me a
I
favor,
mean,
share, subscribe. Whatever platform. Right now we're streaming on YouTube, we're on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and Facebook. So I gotta put that out there so we can push this algorithm to get this content out there. And again, you've been invited by Brother Archie. If you have a counter argument, what he just said, tinyurl.com/call TSP. Please call in. Again, you can use a anonymous name, and you can also turn your camera off. So you don't have to be on camera. But if you're interested, the offer has been made. Um, it's funny. What the thing that I'm gonna try to be the voice of those or a portion of the audience that might be watching right now, thinking to themselves, "I want to ask a question, but I don't want to put myself out there." Then the question is,
oh yeah,
then what do we do? Why do we even try?
I think
Because
we continue to enjoy the privileges that we have. I think that we continue to figure out strategies to enrich ourselves mentally, physically, and culturally, and with wealth. And and you start to build figure out how to build your own again. And again, the history of black folks in this country, every time we built something up, it's been attacked and destroyed. But you again with the Supreme Court blurring the lines between church and state with the Maine school case. Is it Maine or Vermont? I think it's Maine. Um, you have the opportunity to figure out how to open private schools again. You think Phillips Exeter Academy, Choate, Andover, and all this, they don't give a damn what's happening in public schools. Like literally, I've been to Eden College over there with Prince Harry and them went to school. They go to school in tuxedos. They are taught to rule, right? I've been to Exeter, right? I haven't been a student at Eden College. I went there as an adult, taking kids there on a learning expedition, but I've been a student at Phillips Exeter Academy in the summer, and it's something different. So again, I think you enjoy your privileges, and I think
what's different by that?
continue to
You can't just go. You said it's something different,
what
but yeah, you said it's something. You said
what's
Philip
different.
Yeah, because the reason I think it's very important for us to talk
You
about that
are
is that people are listening right now that might not have that experience at all. I went to an elite private
when
school in
you
Africa, so I understand. I think I know what you mean by different. So please share with that.
you're not so we hear this whole thing competition compete like you're not really taught to compete. Like if you're there, you're I mean you're essentially being taught to rule. I mean, like you're taught that you are the cream of the crop, talented tenth, whatever. Like you're taught to rule. Like you're not there to learn how to compete with everyone else. Why am I even thinking about competing with? And I went to little old Sheffield High School in Memphis, Tennessee, right? Who barely didn't have gas in our biology and chemistry labs, right? And you go to Exeter, and they got an animal behavior lab with Komodo dragons. What are we even talking about here? Well,
They got a zoo.
I took marine biology. I had class on the beach. We collect this. So I'm just saying, like, their whole music bill, the Steinway songs. What are we talking about here? So you're not taught that this thing is equal or equability and all. That's not the point and or the goal, right? So just getting back to the previous one, I think you enjoy your privileges and figure out how to continue to try and reinvest and build, start to figure out how to build your own again, as well as make sure you think about an exit strategy. Because again, it ain't no secret. Liberals make a lot of noise, but ain't no secret who got all the guns. Like, well, I got guns. I don't know about some other folks. I got guns, but like, You might want to think about an exit strategy. Again, just thinking about the level of toxic polarization and the folks that are taught to rule, they're not concerned in the least bit. Recessions, why am I concerned with the recession? That's poor talk. It's the same way when I hear people talk about, oh, filing bankruptcy, Chapter 7, all that. Have you ever heard a rich person worry about, oh, not a wealthy person worry about bankruptcy? What do they call it? Restructuring.
Restructuring, yeah.
Oh, we're going to restructure this. We're going to restructure the corporation. Like, yeah, so I'm just like, you're not taught to think
So
in
so
ways that it's almost like the inverse of coming up in the hood, where I think poverty forces you to make decisions differently. Extreme wealth and privilege also forces you to make decisions differently. And if you find yourself as a poor person injected into that space, um, you become ex- you have a a different and interesting outlook on stuff because you've been taught to make decisions from a poverty lens, but you've also been taught to make decisions from an extreme privilege, not just privilege, but extreme privilege lens. And it can find you can find yourself in very uncomfortable spaces, um, and you can easily lose yourself because I'm going to tell you, poverty is a beast, and you find yourself not wanting to deal with that. But it's not, again, when you're not taught to compete and you're taught to rule. That's a different type of education.
yeah, it's so as you were talking, I was thinking about one of my favorite series, Game of Thrones, and Tywin Lannister said the quote: "The lions do not concern themselves with the happenings of sheeps."
Yeah,
And that's something that's very. It's funny because I feel like in our media, the story is being told and we just don't listen. You know, these folklores that we call TV shows literally are telling us the reality. This is a reflection of your state of being. The Lannisters are the Bushes. They are the Kennedys. They are these spaces and these you know these families that've been around for such a long time. And going back to the founding fathers, the Bill of Rights belonged to them and their descendants. It's about their bloodline, and for everybody else, it's a privilege. It's there, you know, as an advantage for you, but it can also be taken away from you at any given time. There's one thing about rights is something that's supposed to be set in stone and belonging to you. But a privilege feels like a right. It feels like yeah, I feel like I have a right, but no.
but these folks are messing it up for them. I'm telling you that, like, now the MAGA folks are messing it up because honestly they have figured out. I'm gonna get in real trouble for this, right? They have figured out that really wealthy white people, it's not black people that screw you over, even though they take out their anger and rage on us. It's really wealthy white people that are conservative that are actually screwing you over. And like, this is what's happening. They're treating you all like they've always, or you just found out that they're treating you like they've always treated black folks. But it just dawned, like it just
It just
literally
do-
dawned on them
it
the
just
last
hits
couple
you.
of years.
It just
So
hits
now
you.
you see it hit them like, wait a minute, I don't have a pot to piss in. I can barely afford gas. Why did this black person just drive past me in a Range Rover with two beautiful children and a wife going to, like, you can't treat me like this. I'm an American. I have rights. And if I don't have rights, like, I'm white. And that has to mean something because you told me when we consolidated this Englishman, Frenchman, Irishman, all these melted it into white so that you could be, even if you don't have a pot to piss in, you could be slightly better than the most esteemed black person by virtue of your skin. But you just realize that, like, maybe we should stop taking direction from the establishment. Because what have they done for us? I'm still stuck in this coal mine that my father, my grandfather, and great grandfather worked. What has hating black people done for you? So they just kind of start to wake up and they're bucking against the system. I mean, they're pissed off at liberal folks. They're still mad at what, but like they ain't concerned about the establishment on, especially politically on that side. It's a strange thing, right? It's a very, very strange thing, right? Where you have like, what did I hear a group of black people say the other day? Jeez, like if we could go back to the days of George Bush type of Republicans, like we would take that, like especially when Trump was in the White. Like folks were literally saying, like if we could go, and we thought like the Bush year, we were complaining. Folks are like, yo, we could go back to those Republicans, like, because these other folks are like, but they're just bucking the system because they don't. Some of them are trying to one protect this whiteness they've been sold on, but two protect this American dream that they either hadn't realized or either they got a small sliver and they're saying my whiteness should give me more and I don't understand why I have more. So we're going to start taking charge because these established people that we thought were having our best interests in mind really just doing us like they do everybody else. I think they just figured that out. You know, they're willing to attack everybody on January 6th because they figured it out. And I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to shut up. Black people on January 6th, they might not say it, but I'm going to say it. The insurrection bothered us. You know, the whole idea of insurrection against the United States of America, your home country, patriotic, yada, yada. That was bothersome. But what really troubled us was us watching this unfold and like, wow, we are really hated. Because if that would have been us, there'd been bodies all over the street.
Yeah.
We'd have shot dead like dogs in the street. Because tear gas and stuff were used to clear out folks that were peacefully protesting near the White House. So, black people interestingly stayed out of that whole thing. This argument, let the rich white people and the poor white people go ahead and we'll see how the dust settles. But I don't know. I'll shut up and stop talking now. But it is very interesting, and I think people should continue to enjoy the privileges they have. This is not North Korea, right? Enjoy the privileges you have, but then also realize that they are privileges. Stop living in a bubble hollowed out about you have rights and you watch every day rights are violated by agents of the state. And I ain't just talking about police. I'm talking about teachers and principals. Because if you're
Yeah.
a teacher or you're a principal, public school, you're an agent of the state technically, right? So
Wait a
you
minute.
also
Technically,
uh-oh.
technically,
Uh-oh. Not technically. Not
you
technically.
are.
You are.
You are.
You
It's not
are
even a
a
question about that.
public school employee that is paid by a public entity that is a city entity that gets funding from your state that you're in as well as the federal government. So you are an agent of the state as well. And I know all my little woke liberal folks that I'm not an agent. Actually, right? Do you teach the curriculum that you fully want to teach? Because if I come in your classroom and say, well, let's talk about the murder of Fred Hampton. And it is a murder, assassination of Fred Hampton. Like, and what he was actually trying to do with bringing poor white people, black people, Hispanic people, and gay people all together to build a coalition. He had to go. Like, can you say that openly in your classroom? Some places you might, some places you can't. You're an agent of the state, right? And you violate kids' rights too. Public servant. Yeah. You violate kids' rights, right?
Agent of the government.
So right. So you violate folks' rights, and then you thumb your nose at officers that do it. Shooting somebody and killing them quickly, and you killing them very slowly by not even teaching them. You bring your lazy tail to school Oh yeah, I'm finna go in now. You bring your lazy
Mm.
tail to school,
You better
and
get
how dare
you
you
about to get the
not
channel
teach?
shut down. You about to get it shut down. But it's cool. Shut this down.
Yeah, yeah. How dare you not teach? Try and teach your ass off every day to make sure kids know how to read. And then you get up here the minute a principal or someone says something to you. Let me call my union rep. I want to do your kids can't read. Forget a union. Like I'm talking about black and brown kids that can't read. What kind of chance are you giving them? Right? Are you respecting their rights? Right? So, rights. People need to wake up and realize you have some great privileges here in the U.S. and utilize those and try and bring other people, pull other people up, and don't be expecting people to pull themselves up out of bootstraps. They need a helping hand. You help pull them up. Because again, Dr. King said it's a crude gesture to ask a bootless man, bootless woman, a bootless them day, or whoever to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. And they don't have boots. And it ain't just black people that don't have boots. You got some poor ass white people that don't have boots. And that's why they're mad as shit at these rich folks that have been conservative, Republican in power, ain't did nothing for them either. So guess what? They doing something about it. Sucks. How about liberals all get on the same page? Black people try to get on the same page and do something about it. Might be an interesting idea. Liberals spend so much time fighting each other on basic stuff, they can't get anything done. Even when they got a majority in Congress, majority in the Senate, majority, and you're in the White House. You still can't get nothing done. Because you fight each other all the time. All right, yep, that's my troubling speech. Somebody's gonna be like, "Did you just call teachers lazy?" Yes, I call some teachers lazy because I've seen a good deal of lazy teachers, and then I've seen exceptional teachers. Just got through talking about one earlier. My fifth grade teacher, Miss Pat Jones, was the best teacher on the planet. To the nines every day. She drove a money green Mercedes fur coat, and everything was a learning experience. She never called me bad, though I deserved to be called bad because I was a bad child. She called me a public nuisance, and I had to go look up what a public nuisance was, right? And I appreciate every learning lesson she taught. But like, yeah, you come to school and you're being late. None of your kids know how to read. Stop blaming others. Like, look in the mirror and blame yourself, right? And don't run to your union rep talking about, oh, someone said something about my performance evaluation. Your kids can't read. That's terrible. That's deplorable also, right? And you come to me talking about your kids can't read. That's true. And I ain't talking to the great teachers, the good teachers, the folks who care, the folks who put in their work, the folks who make sure that even not having resources down in the Mississippi Delta, they make sure their kids can read, write, calculate, and have opportunities to go and try and do something to uplift their community. I'm talking to the folks that go and collect the check. Yeah, if you out there, collect the check and don't get the job done. You're an agent of the state. You're contributing to the problem.
I feel like I got to jump in real quick because there's a man out there right now that I got to give props to, Mr. Mike. Um, because I remember being in school here in this country in America and getting thrown into special ed, and I couldn't read. You know, that was my biggest struggle. And all the teachers that I had at Budlong Elementary School, at Adams Street Elementary School, all in LA, were hands all up. You know, the best country in the world, the best trained teachers, right? And my mother took me back to Nigeria, and Mr. Mike, who was my fourth grade teacher and my fifth grade teacher, was also my tutor. This man would tell me his words. I don't know why you do not understand this. You are brilliant. What is your problem? You're brilliant. In his insults, he was praising me. In his verbal abuse, he was pouring into me. And I'll be honest with you, I would be up, sitting there with a kerosene lamp with my book, trying to get through what amounted to C Spot Run. Because I wanted to impress this man who kept on calling me brilliant. Even though he said, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you're brilliant. And guess what, Mr. Mike? It's been decades. It's been decades. I was in the fourth grade, and here I am now, 46 years old. Mr. Mike, guess what? I followed you in your steps. I became an educator just like you. But you took a kid that was thrown away in Los Angeles and told that he was not going to be anything beyond dyslexic and all the things they labeled me with. And here I am right now, Ivy League hood rat. What can I say? But thank
And
you.
I was saying like the great educators that save like that poured into me. It's like, again, I always say the Mr. Jimmy Holland, who was my 7 foot 400 pound principal there at Sheffield Middle School. Like, you saved a lot of like literally saved a lot of lives. So, again, we have such talent in our communities, and we get so distracted by the easiest of things. A Gucci bag will distract us, right? Like, so I think again, folks need to make sure that they understand privileges that they have and use those privileges to build something, to try and own something. Everybody wants to stack up and live in, you know, five, six, seven cities, and like, oh, why don't you go and, you know, buy land, rural property, and start a school, or start a town, or start a business, or grow some food, so you're not having to buy whatever from the grocery store. You're complaining about prices. Okay, you can grow butter beans and rosemary and eggplant and watermelon and strawberry. You can grow that, right? So I'm just one of those folks that says that uh, um, for folks that get in there and do their job every day, I'm all with you. For folks that are just want to be collect a check and want to be loud and doing a disservice, you're killing kids slowly, and you have the nerve to get up there and talk about when someone kills someone fast. I mean, honestly speaking, I don't want to die by the death of 1,000 cuts. Just go ahead and take me out back, shoot me in the back of the head if I'm terminal, right? Or if you just gotta let me go ahead, shoot me in the back of the head, give me a quick one. Don't give me death by 1,000 cuts, but that's exactly what's happening. Death by 1,000 cuts. Now we do know that 70% of teachers are white and female, but state legislators also run. Um, the teacher of the year from Kentucky the other year is no longer a teacher in the classroom. I think he works at a university now, because he just got fed. He's gay and got fed up with. He's out, open, and a wonderful, beautiful person, and I think just got fed up with the BS from the school and the district and the state. How is someone that phenomenally talented run out of the classroom? Because it's lazy, no talent people that get in positions, because they're privileged, or someone throws them in a position, and they create damage and harm, and it sucks. So I always say, if you're one of those folks that's out there and your kids can't read, and you're not trying to improve and figure it out, you need to find something else to do, because as an agent of the state, you're also slowly killing folks and violating rights. So that's just my miniature take and shake on that. But yeah, I mean, overall, the tenor of the night is, people, you have privileges. Don't fool yourself into believing that you have rights, right? And find yourself, really falling off the cliff of disappointment because you figure out that rights don't really exist for you, and you have privileges that can, be granted and taken away. So, again, as always, people, love you all. I could be wrong. I, I'm wrong. I'm wrong all the time. I'm wrong a million times a day. I'm married to Google. Uh-oh, my wife is gonna be mad at me on that one. I call her Google because she's invaluable. So uh, yeah, but I can be wrong, and that's cool. And that's just my opinion. Don't mean to offend anyone, hurt anyone, drum up any ill will, but I do mean to go ahead and tell the truth. And the truth is, I've worked with some fantastic. educators, and I've worked with some terrible folks. I have encountered some officers that, man, do so much for the community, and they take a lot of flack. And I've encountered some folks that shouldn't have a gun and badge, and they literally can't wait to shoot somebody. Right? They couldn't even be an officer in Britain or other countries where officers don't carry guns because they literally sign up to shoot somebody, right? And everything in between. So, root those folks out, continue to push, continue to fight. But people, enjoy your privileges. Recognize the privilege you have. I recognize that I'm very, very privileged and very fortunate, and it can be, removed. And again, I'm not under any illusion as a person that has been abused by agents of the state that I have rights because I when, like, again, show me where this is held up really, really well, other than for wealthy white people. Because poor white people don't think that your privileges may be a little bit better than mine, but don't be thinking that you just got like privileges like that, because they still locking folks up that were out there January the 6th, so
Yeah.
they couldn't believe. Did you come and get me and lock me up? Sure, we lock you up too. So yeah.
We're coming to the close of this episode, and I want to again, Archie, you said a lot of things that get my brain thinking, and you're talking about about schools and buying schools rather than buying Gucci, like stuff like that. And it's interesting because there's an article from earlier this week about NBA referee Derek Richardson, who bought an elementary school in my American hometown of Inglewood, California. He bought an elementary school named after his mother, who was a longtime teacher. And it made me, when you said that, I think about those of us who are more privileged in resources, and sometimes I ask myself, rather than buying that chain that you want to let everybody know, I spent, that bracelet I spent, $300,000, $1 million on my wrist.
Yep.
Imagine what that $1 million
Yep.
can do if you bought a school, put the right people in there, and maybe it's a nonprofit. So you're ripping the benefits of owning a non-for-profit, which you can maybe have a foundation you put your money into that alleviates your tax, commitments, but also benefits the community. So Derek Richardson, who's a longtime NBA referee veteran, and people, if you don't know what veterans make in the NBA who are referees, they get paid. They don't get paid like LeBron money. They get paid like, good enough, like I could live a very comfortable life money. But he put money into the community, which is crazy because, again, he bought a whole damn school and named after his mother, and
Right.
now the school is going to function to serve the kids in the community. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Jalen Rose also runs schools
Yeah.
in Detroit. Now, one of the interesting things about what Kanye was trying to do in his final hours as a billionaire also is trying to open doctor schools.
Medical school. Yeah.
Because what public schools are funded and propped up by our private schools by our black few in between billionaires? They make donations, but like, what school? Like, can you imagine if Oprah decided, like, no, we're gonna have? I mean, she runs schools in South Africa, but she's gonna have the old school, and it's an old school in New York. It's an old school in Mississippi, private academy with world class facilities. It's an old school in California, old school in Chicago. Like, can you imagine, like, if that's what we thought? But yeah, we would rather actually spend $300,000 on chains and necklaces and go to the strip club and throw a whole bunch of money. I'm not gonna say I have never been there and threw away some money because I wouldn't fake yesterday and I'm not gonna be fake today, right? Let's be real, because somebody gonna see this and be like, I was there with him when. How does he even know Thunder personally? Like, she know him like she's dapped him up. He said, like, somebody Somebody's gonna call and say, "No, that brother, I don't see him tossing." Yeah, I'm not gonna say I hadn't dabbled. And people dabble. Enjoy yourself. Life is short. My grandfather just passed away. He's 88. Enjoy yourself. Life is short.
I'll plead the fifth.
But all right, you gonna plead the fifth. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna let you plead the fifth, right? Enjoy yourself, but again, make investments. When I tell people get 529s for your kids, buy books. My friend Al runs barbershop for books. Make investments in things that are gonna build the community up. And yeah, like again, um, what would have been the power if Kanye's wealth would have continued to increase and he would have actually got an opportunity to open 50 Donda schools that could have served black and brown kids and could have been using some of that wealth to filter into there? That's a real good reason to click you, is it not?
Yeah.
Because that's being revolutionary, right? So, because as long as you throwing money around and buying a bunch of cheap, even though they charge you $300,000 for jewelry, it's only worth like $50,000 when you're trying to trade it back in, right? It's not like it's a watch that you can go over to Switzerland and flip out in the watch exchange and get market value for it, right? So it's one where I just encourage folks, like, put your money where your mouth is. Like, are you really gonna, like, if you need more rims, you need more silly stuff. But again, I understand. I grew up in the culture. We gotta shine because we don't know when our last moment is. We don't know when somebody did what we did when we were teenagers. Somebody come put a bullet in the back of our head for something stupid that happened when we were 15, or we don't know. Just driving home, it might be Officer whoever Randy's day to, let me go Negro hunt, right? These are realities. These are stresses and pressures that we feel. So I understand, like, let me shine right now and show you everything I have, but there must be some investment in the future. There must be some investment in something that's beyond yourself. And I think that, there are opportunities to escape these slums because people have went to black people migrated and went to liberal cities looking for the promised land. Nicholas Lincoln and all these people write about this, but found wastelands and slums in many
Yeah.
cases. Some were able to get out. Some have been in slums multi-generational. It might be time to return back home, as Charles Blow said. Take your ass back to Georgia, where you can go ahead and exert your political power and flip a state that had been firmly red to purple onto blue. Take your ass back there where you can breathe. You got a little air and you can start to actually impact and make some change. Take your ass back to Mississippi. It'll stay 40-some% black. All you gotta do is get some of y'all black ass to leave Chicago, Cleveland, Kansas City. You ain't doing shit there anyway. Go there and see if you can go ahead and get a black senator elected there. You got plenty of land. Build you a bigger house. Here, you sell your house up there, you can get a mini mansion down in Mississippi and work on buying some land and trying to build a school for kids in the county. But we don't want to do that because we're interested in Gucci. Right? So I always tell people don't come to me with foolishness because I'm just gonna tell like if I come and check your children's if I check your house, do you got cheap plastic toys or which ain't nothing wrong with some cheap plastic toys or do you got books to your kids? How often do you read to your kids? Right? Are your kids wild about books? Have you put money aside? You got accounts for them to go to college or to go to. I don't give a damn if they want to go to college or not. I prefer to go to college, but again, if my baby girl come to me and say like, nope, I turned 18, I want to take all this money, this 529, and I want to go on a 4-year learning expedition through the continent of Africa. I'm gonna start in Port Durban, and I'm gonna end in Casablanca and work my way all through like. Yeah, I mean, you might it's just like if people are like, oh, it's some sketchy parts of Africa, sketchy parts of the U.S. What the hell are you talking about? Right? So I'm like, what are you? Your kid could get raped. Have you looked at the crime stats here? Right? So,
when was the last time you heard? When was the last time you heard about a school shooting in Africa?
Exactly. And that's my point. Sometimes people again, enjoy these American privileges. Just know, as Jordan said, it's a cost of winning. So yeah, you're here, you're winning. Oh, I'm an executive. I got the big job, big car. Yeah, it's a cost of that. Yeah, it's dodging bullets. You can't take your grandma to church, to the grocery store. You scared your kid going to school. You can't go to a festival, right? You can't go to the movie theater. Can't ride a train. Like, it's a cost to the privileges you have. You just have to decide, does the stress of that cost, does it add up enough for you to continue playing the particular game, or do you want to move on and see how someone else does it, differently? And again, it's a cost of living in New York City. You pay a lot to live in a shoebox, right? You can go again. You can move down to Alabama. Oh, there are racists there. Have you been around New York City? I'm like, it's pretty freaking racist around New York City and state. What are we talking about here? It's different, but nonetheless,
it's overt.
it's
It's overt,
racist.
but it's often also right in your face.
Right. So I'm just like, ain't no difference in New York and Alabama in that regard. With a couple different laws, I'm like, I've seen Confederate flags in New York City, upstate New York. Oh my goodness. So what are we talking about here? But
Yeah.
I always say, like, go try something else. Try something different. My wife left New York with me and went to Arkansas. People gave her all kind of flag. Arkansas? What's down in Arkansas? Try something different. What you scared of? Again, somebody told me, I hadn't been to Dubai, I'm going, or UAE. They were like, a woman could lose their engagement ring, and somebody would pick it up and turn it into the police.
Yep.
Because it's virtual. Now, you don't have the same rights or privileges that you might have in the US, but your privileges are different. They're like, certain crimes are just not happening there. But we thumb our nose and look down on folks because they think or do things differently. But look at the stuff you have to put up with for your so-called rights. Some of y'all take y'all engagement ring off as soon as y'all go to get your son a haircut. Well, I guess it's black barbers in suburbs now. Go get your son a haircut in the hood. You got your engagement ring took off. Terrified of you people, right? So I'm saying, like maybe you try something different within this country, or try something different elsewhere.
Tuck the chain in.
Right. I mean, so that's just my thing there is, don't be afraid to, say, hey, maybe let me explore how privileges happen somewhere else. And people hear me talk about it all the time. Everybody knows me knows. I always say, hey, I'm getting the hell out of Dodge and going to Barbados one of these days. Well, it's just because I don't want to, I just don't want to think so hard about stuff sometimes, So maybe you should try something different sometime. If you're in Boston, and Boston is woo-wee, it's gonna be some people mad at me, but all my kids, if Boston makes you laugh because